A crinkle pie? What's that? Hey, Chef Dez coming at you from my kitchen again, and yeah, today we're gonna make a crinkle pie. This is a TikTok trend that has been going around for a while, and what you use is phyllo pastry, and you turn it into this crispy, custardy, beautiful dessert or appetizer, whatever you choose, and it's amazing. This is my take on this crinkle pie, and you'll be able to find the recipe at bcegg.com. The first thing we wanna do is use a 12 by 18 baking sheet. And we're just going to spray that with baking spray just to make sure it lifts off really easy. And then we're going to take a standard 1 pound, 454 gram package of phyllo pastry. You can buy this frozen at the grocery store almost everywhere. And what I do is I thaw it slowly in the refrigerator over 2 days, 48 hours. You can just buy it and thaw it on the countertop, but you will find that it's going to become too moist as it thaws that quickly, and the sheets will be stuck together. By thawing it really slow, 48 hours in the refrigerator, you're going to find that the sheets come apart a little bit better. So all I do is I just unroll it, and I'll show you these sheets. They're really, really thin. Like very thin paper. Even still, look at, they get stuck together. They become a bit finicky, but don't panic. This recipe is very forgiving. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take, yeah, look at this one. Got a big hole, look at that. It's ripped completely, but that's okay, don't worry about it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take these sheets and you're gonna take 1 or 2 of the sheets at a time, and we're just going to start pleating them, just crinkling them up. This is why it's called a crinkle pie. And just take your sheets and then place them on that prepared baking tray. And we're gonna keep adding to it. So if you can do 1, fantastic. There's 1 there. If they're stuck together a little bit and you have to do 2 sheets at a time, go ahead and do that. It doesn't really matter. And then we're just gonna keep lining them up. And by using a 12-inch by 18-inch baking sheet, they fit just perfectly. And we're gonna keep doing this until we have all the sheets on that baking tray and the baking tray is filled up. I found a version of this online, the crinkle pie, where they take every single sheet and they brush it with butter before they start crinkling them up. And I found that's way too much work. So this one's a little bit easier for you. Now that we've moved past the first couple of sheets, you can see that these are totally fine now. There's no real right or wrong way of doing this, just cranking them up however you like. This would be fun to get the kids involved doing this as well. Now that I've gotten to the end and the whole tray is filled and I still have a few more sheets to go, I just make room. I just squish them up a little bit more and tuck them in where I can. Here's my last sheet here. This is looking really good. So all I do now is just tuck in the edges a little bit and just make it look a little bit more pretty. So as I mentioned, it would be kind of finicky to have to butter each of the sheets. So what I'm gonna do instead is just pour the melted butter over top. You still need butter for this recipe to work. That's what makes it nice and crispy. And we have 1 full cup of butter here. Now you might be thinking, that's a lot of butter, Dez. I get it, but this is gonna make 18 good-sized portions, so that's less than a tablespoon of butter per person. And we're just gonna take this butter and pour it equally over the sheets. Make sure you try and get them all fully covered with the butter. You may miss the odd spot here and there, and that's okay, just do your best. Now I'm gonna place this in the oven. I have the oven preheated at 350 degrees or 325 degrees convection. And we're gonna bake that for about 15 minutes until it's nice and golden. Now while that's in the oven, let's get the rest of the stuff prepared for this recipe. I'm calling this my cranberry and orange crinkle pie. So obviously we need cranberries and oranges. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use sweetened dried cranberries and orange marmalade. I also don't want this recipe to be too sweet. I want it more balanced. So what I'm adding to the orange marmalade is 4 teaspoons of white wine vinegar. That will balance out that sweetness really nice and make the orange flavor pop in this recipe. Just stir it in carefully so you're not sloshing around until it's fully combined. Okay, let's set that aside. The other component of this crinkle pie that we have to prepare is a custard. So I have 3 large eggs. Always remember, every single large egg has 14 key nutrients, all 9 essential amino acids, over 6 grams of the highest quality protein you can get, and 1 large egg, it's only 80 calories. So let's take these large eggs and beat them up. To those eggs, we're going to add 3/4 cup of white sugar, 2/3 of a cup of milk, 2/3 of a cup of whipping cream, and a couple teaspoons of vanilla. Let's combine that together. And there's our completed custard. Let's set that to the side. There's one more thing we have to prepare while we're waiting for those phyllo sheets to bake, and that's the Bree cheese. Keep this chilled so it's easier to slice. I have about 200 grams worth of Bree cheese here. We're just going to take a sharp knife and create some thin slices of this. And then what I like to do, instead of having a thick piece like that, I like to cut them in half again to have thinner strips. It's going to make it a little bit easier to tuck into the phyllo pastry. Okay, that's been about 15 minutes. Let's have a look. Yeah, look at this. This looks beautiful. Just golden like that, starting to go a little bit crispy on the top. This is amazing. Now it's time for assembly. The first thing we're going to do is start tucking in these little slices of Bree cheese all the way throughout this pastry. And just put them randomly, spread them out. There's lots to go around, and you just tuck them in the folds like that. Be a little careful because the pan is still hot. Once you have the Bree cheese in there, we're going to just take this marmalade and white wine vinegar mixture and just put dollops of it over the pastry. You can tuck that in too if you want by scooping it into the folds a little bit, but you don't have to be too fussy. Just put blobs of it evenly around the whole dish. The next step is to scatter the sweetened dried cranberries completely across the pastry. And the same with those. You can tuck them into the folds if you want to, but really you don't have to be too fussy about it. The next thing we need to do is take that custard and pour it evenly all over the pastry. Take your time with this to make sure you have it evenly poured over as much surface area as you can, until all of it is on there. And then we're going to bake that for another 30 minutes. All right, there's our timer. Let's take this out. Wow, look at how beautiful this is. This is amazing. Now that the custard is set and it's nice and golden brown, you want to wait at least 5 minutes before garnishing and cutting it. So I'll see you back here soon. It's been really hard to wait that long because this smells amazing. You're going to love this. Let's garnish now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of powdered sugar and just dust it over this whole recipe. Oh, this makes it look so beautiful. It's really nice because you see all the crevices from the phyllo pastry and it looks like little mountains with a dusting of snow. And just to really accent the orange flavor, we're going to take an orange and we're going to zest it over the top. Not only will that give you the visual of having those orange bits of zest all over the top, but also the spray of the essential oils from that citrus fruit is amazing. All right, I think that's enough. I used a full navel orange to do that, but the presentation is incredible. Now let's cut into this. I can hardly wait. So in the recipe, I suggest cutting it into 18 pieces. How you're gonna do that easily is you're gonna cut it into 6 pieces this way and 3 pieces this way. So I make my first cut in the half of the pan going this way, and then I divide each of those halves into 3 strips. Oh, hear that crunch? And then, as I mentioned, 3 strips this way. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. You're absolutely gonna love this. A couple of things I did that are different than the TikTok trend recipe is I'd added more custard. I really wanted to create that difference between the crunchy top and the custardy bottom. So it's almost like having cake at the bottom and a crispy pastry on the top. The other thing I found is all the TikTok recipes don't tell you to add salt, and they tell you to use unsalted butter. You need that bit of salt to really balance the flavors. So what I did for my full cup of butter is I used salted butter, and the result is amazing. Make sure you're checking out bcegg.com for this and a whole bunch of other great recipes, tips, and tricks. And this is Chef Dez signing out. Where are you getting your protein from?